Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy Sean, aka Canadian Footy Guy, with a quick recap for you on the 6 Yard Line podcast. As you can see, there's no Noel today, and I'm not recording at home. I'm in my office at work. So, first off, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And of course, smash a like. Helps with our numbers and the algorithm here on the YouTube. But yeah, folks, are you paying attention to what's happening in the Premier League? At least when it comes to the relegation battle, because, we can talk briefly at the end about what's happening with Arsenal and Man City, but the relegation battle, well, folks, Spurs, yeah, they're stressed. It's not a drill. They are in the relegation zone, folks. So I'm pretty sure West Ham have been pretty much in or maybe just outside of the relegation battle majority of the season. But after the results this past weekend, things have changed. So we know Burnley and Wolves are definitely the two other teams going down. Not officially yet, but at least I think Wolves are officially relegated. Burnley, I think, should be in a game or two. But West Ham got an amazing result this past week and leapfrogged Tottenham Hotspurs. So Spurs are now 17th. West Ham are now 16th. And Forest, which got a 1-1 draw, not necessarily the result that they wanted, but keeps them 3 points ahead of Spurs in the relegation battle. So good result for them. But, Spurs bring in Roberto De Zerbi. He's supposed to be, I guess they figure he's the one who's going to help them get out of this zone or the relegation zone. But folks, I don't know if he can motivate them enough. Like, the players seem to have zoned out. A lot of them seem to already be on summer mode, vacation mode, or planning their next move. What's going to take for Spurs to get a result, get a win? Right? They haven't had a win this calendar year in the Premier League, which is not like you're going to have a hard time staying up if you can't win. It's plain and simple. If you're going to lose or get draws and everyone else around you are getting the results they need, that's not going to help you. So I believe there's 6 games left, and it's going to come down to each week. It's going to be, watching the standings, seeing who potentially can leapfrog somebody else. Leeds got a massive win on Monday, so I believe they're now 6 points ahead of Spurs. So, they are slowly securing themselves. So good on Leeds. Back in the Premier League after being in the championship for a while. They seem to have secured their spot for at least one more year. But, I think we need to take a step back and really take a look at if Spurs do get relegated. They're supposed to be one of the big clubs. When we were talking a few years ago about the Super League, Spurs are one of the teams that were in that conversation to leave the Premier League and join this so-called Super League. But look at them now. And did they ever actually deserve to truly be in that conversation? I mean, yeah, they won the Europa League a couple of years ago, or last year, whatever they won. But I mean, would you consider them truly a team that year in, year out are going to be competing for trophies? I don't think so, right? Yeah, I really think this is going to be an interesting final few weeks of the season. I never anticipated Tottenham being in this situation. Don't have to be a fan of them, but it's not what any Spurs fan would have anticipated the start of the season or hoped for. They've got the biggest stadium in the Premier League. They don't have the biggest budget. We know there's a lot of talk or issues with regard to the Spurs fans feeling their club isn't spending the way they need to spend to compete with the big teams. But regardless, they've put themselves in this situation, whether it be ownership, the coaching carousel that they've gone through in the past few years. They just haven't seemed to get it right. We could be talking about Tottenham Hotspurs playing the championship next year. And I think everyone is assuming if they go down, they're coming right back up. And that would be assuming the core of their players are still there, right? Because, depending on the contracts they have, some players are going to definitely look to move, but they're not going to be able to get rid of, half of them. They're probably going to get rid of 3 to 4, maybe 5 players at most. So will players be willing to, battle it out in the championship for a year? That will be interesting. There's so much, to really break down when it comes to the free fall of Tottenham Hotspurs and how far they've fallen. They had a bad season last year. They weren't really in the relegation battle, but they were close enough. This year, they're part of that conversation, at least in the past few weeks. They've walked themselves into this conversation, and now they're leading it. Right? Like I said, Wolves, Burnley, no one's really talking about them. There's an expectation they're already going down. But it was that final spot that seemed to at one point be West Ham. So maybe we can even throw Forest in that conversation. They were close. I know Noah has some takes on that, but he probably felt that they were too close to that relegation battle, and they still are. Right? A couple losses for them. If Spurs can somehow find ways to win, and West Ham keeps doing what they're doing, like Spurs, it could be Forest in this conversation. But as of now, it's a bigger deal having Tottenham there, right? And that's no disrespect to Forest. Forest is, if you look at their history, they've got history. They've got trophies, European nights, so they know what it's like to be here. But it's been a while for them, at least in the Premier League consistently. But let's see if they can, hold on or hold off Spurs, right? And I think my personal opinion is, if I look at all 3 of those teams, or even throwing Leeds there, Leeds, Spurs, Forest, and West Ham, look at how they've all been playing. There's nobody that can tell me Spurs is the team that will definitely survive. Based on their play, based on their results, they have to be the number 1 candidate of those 4 teams to get relegated. So I think it's 6 games left. Each game's going to come down, or each week is going to be a hot conversation, at least when it comes to the relegation battle. And we will definitely keep you guys in tune. Now, if we take a quick look at the top of the table, Arsenal now only have a 6-point lead. After them, they lost this past weekend, probably unexpectedly, to Bournemouth. Big win for the Cherries, massive result. And then, of course, Chelsea losing big time to City. It's only 6 points. And this coming weekend, we've got the big battle between Man City and Arsenal. So at the end of the weekend, it could only be down to 3 points. And City still have that game in hand, which they play next Wednesday. So a week from now, there's a strong possibility that Man City and Arsenal could be level on points. And the only difference will be goal difference to see who is actually in first. And depending on how many goals City get in the next 2 games versus Arsenal this weekend, again, if they win by 1, that's not enough of a goal difference. But the game on Wednesday could determine whether, if City gets the result and can win big, they can easily move right top of the table. And if that happens, is there any way for Arsenal to overcome, right? Well, that mental pressure of, and I'm going to use the word, I hate using it, but modeling it in April that they've done in the past, will that come back to haunt them? If you go look at the history, I'm pretty sure in the past 4 or 5 years, Arsenal only have 1 win in April. You're not winning any title if you can't secure it. It doesn't matter how well you do in September, in October. If you're not winning when it counts in April, going at the final run of the season, you're not going to win the title. So that's where we are. Again, Arsenal's still in first, City in second. I believe Man United are in third with 55 points, level on points with Villa. And of course, at 52 points is Liverpool. Somehow or the other, we're in a Champions League spot right now. We got knocked out of the Champions League, which we'll talk about that later. But as of now, thankfully, we're in a good spot, but we'll see if we can hold on. So, folks, as usual, smash that like button. We appreciate all the feedback. And if you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. And of course, we love the interaction, so leave a comment or two. That's it for this week on the 6 Hour Line podcast. We shall be back next week. Peace out.